I want to know if you got your popcorn ready. Do you got your popcorn ready?
All day, every day.
Good morning, my neighbors!
That's why these two guys here, these are the men I want as my friends. They're the new blood.
Thanks to everyone out there for downloading another episode of the Detroit Sports Podcast. We're at episode 59 of the Doc and Jock Sports Show. Joining me is my co-host, Adam the Jock Strozinski. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. We got a slam-packed podcast for all our fans out there. We appreciate everybody that's been downloading and giving us support on all our platforms. We greatly appreciate it. Jock, my man, what's happening?
I'm just going to need you to just kind of sit there, don your little U of M hat, and just kind of look cute for a few minutes and not really interrupt me because I got to get some stuff off my chest here.
I wonder what it's in regards to.
So, this past Saturday, Michigan Wolverines played the Utah Utes.
Hold on, before you get into this, I'm going to pop open a Coke here and have a smile.
They sat there and took on a team that was decent. They're a very good team. I think Michigan fans underestimate how good Utah actually is. But there is no reason that Utah should come into the big house and work Michigan over the way they worked Michigan over. Brady Hoke, I've had enough of Brady Hoke. Brady Hoke has to go. Dave Brandon has to go. Dave Brandon is doing nothing but pimping the Block M out. This is becoming just obscene. This is like 70s porn. Just Harry Bush all up in your face. I can't take this anymore. This is getting ridiculous. All this is a marketing machine. It's not even a football program anymore. It's about selling jerseys. It's about selling memorabilia. It's about just selling the Block M. That's all it is. There is no substance there. You know what made Michigan great was the fact that they had a winning football program. That they could sit there and they could run out onto that field and you knew that every week you were going to get their best and you were going to come away with a W. That was the best part. It was the Big Two and the Little Eight. Now they're part of that Little Eight. This is disgusting. Brady Hoke has to go. At least put a damn headset on and look like you're interested in the game. Devin Gardner can't play quarterback. He should not be the quarterback. Shane Morris, he looks like he's ruined. You put him in unsalvageable spots. It's like the Titanic going on, and he's the only one who can sit there and mend the ship and put the ship back together. This kid can't have any confidence. You have no idea what you got with him. Devin Gardner needs to just go someplace else. These players are crap. Brady Hoke did a really bad job recruiting. He hasn't done a good job recruiting since he's been here. It's pretty obvious that Michigan fans got sold a bill of goods because after all, this is Michigan. Get the hell out of here. This is ridiculous. In 2 out of the 4 games, the defense has outscored the offense. This offense is putrid. It is awful. Awful. This entire team is disgusting. And you know what the worst part is? They're going to stay the freaking course. They're going to stay the course. They're just going to kind of keep going on their way. And you know what makes it even worse? There are people out there like Jacqueline Craig. If you got a Twitter, go look her up. Go find her on Instagram. She's a very pretty girl. But just people like her, these sheep who sit there and they follow all this crap that Michigan pumps out. Oh, don't be a hater. Your hater's not going to stop my M go blue. Rah, rah, rah. Get the hell out of here. Open up your eyes, Michigan fans. Realize what you're looking at. This is garbage. This is hot garbage. It's a damn dumpster fire. Brandon needs to go. Hoke needs to go. All these coaches need to go. Gardner needs to find some other position to play because it's obvious he can't throw a football. I have no idea what you got with Sugar Shane. I really don't even know if he wants to play here anymore. I mean, the kid gets put in bad spots. He's out there just basically hanging on by his fingertips on a tightrope. It's a disaster. Michigan football is garbage right now. It is disgusting. I can't wait till we go to East Lansing and we just get jail sexed. And then we're going to play Ohio State, and you know that's going to be real ugly too. And they're not even a good program. They look bad. They don't have a quarterback. Neither do we, but they've got a better team. They're just going to sit there and pile drive us. They're playing Minnesota this weekend. Expect another L. This is crap. This entire Michigan team is garbage. Garbage.
Yes, and I understand. So many things to talk about with the Michigan game. But first off, let me ask you your opinion on this. So Michigan had just turned the ball over. Shane Morris threw that interception, and down come the Reins. Earlier in Brady Hoke's tenure, there was a washout. Dave Brandon called the game. Do you think he should have called the game and just, spared the rest of the fans, spared the Utah staff that misery of waiting 2.5 hours, spare the media waiting for the game to end late at night, knowing that, it was going to be likely a loss?
Yeah, this is just what Dave Brandon does. Dave Brandon, I think, lives in Dave Brandon's fantasy land. This is why you have basically Michigan-Minnesota tickets going for $2.22 if you buy 2 Cokes. Get the hell out of here. You are sitting there pimping your students out to buy Cokes and give away Michigan tickets? This is what Dave Brandon has done. You know what the worst part is? So Domino's Pizza for the last 3 years has been running commercials talking about how awful Domino's Pizza was. You know who ran Domino's Pizza? It was Dave Brandon.
And it's so bad because they said that when he left, the stock price was like under $10. Now it's trading for like around $80.
Yeah, he's a horrible businessman. He makes bad moves. There's another story where it comes out that he wanted to sit there and have some drone fly a football into the stadium and drop it down for the start of the game. He never contacted the FAA. How are you going to do these things, or you want to do this stuff and you don't even make the proper phone calls, or you don't even get things done the correct way? They sat there and they brought students back. They brought student athletes back. I think they brought back the 94 team to celebrate the 94 team. And basically they gave the athletes a ticket and then they forced them to buy their families' tickets. How do you do this?
Show me the money.
Nobody wants to come back to Michigan. Nobody feels welcomed at Michigan. David Brandon, you are ruining this. It used to be a great family. And then you had the Rich Rod incidents, which split everything down the middle. And then David Brandon came in, and what was already split down the middle, it got split across the other middle. It's so fractioned up there in Ann Arbor. It's ridiculous right now. Brandon has to go, and he has to take Hoke with him.
And that's just a general consensus among everybody that's talking is no big-name coach will come to Michigan and take over this program with Dave Brandon in place. And so I think the consensus is that he likely is going to be shown the door as well as Brady Hoke. I mean, how classic was it? Because they're in the midst of a rain delay, and then you got the former head coach of Texas, Mac Brown, sitting up there spewing.
He needs to shut up,
I knew you were watching, and he's like, you know what? Brady Hoke is graduating his men. He's running a clean program. There are no incidents there at Michigan. Unfortunately, his win-loss record is putrid, Mr. Brown, and he's turned off a big segment of the fan base. There are huge pockets of empty seats all over Michigan Stadium, and then the recent incident with Minnesota is hampering the outlook of the fans. I mean, really, right now, Michigan's program is at one of the all-time lowest points because this is Michigan. And you know what? As a state fan, I can honestly say that this product that's being put out there by Michigan is not one that I'm used to. You would think now a head coach in his 4th year would have the program at a better spot with more of his players. You have Hoke and defensive coordinator spatting on the sidelines, arguing, causing a scene, embarrassing themselves. You have the team not playing well. And the biggest indictment, I think, of Brady Hoke, name a player that's gotten better, that's gotten significantly better under his regime. Devin Gardner is not playing at the level that he should be playing at. He's not this porous. He's not. I don't think his ceiling is that great, but the level of play that he's shown, he's regressed. And it's really unfortunate, a 5th-year senior has played like this and likely has played himself to the bench. But I think the first move Brady Hoke has to make when he makes the announcement is go to Shane Morris and start anew. It's likely that Hoke is playing out the string and is likely going to be shown the door, but at least you got to see what the future holds, and I think that starts with starting a new quarterback, Shane Morris.
You know what the best part about Michigan football used to be? We used to put quarterbacks into the NFL. You used to put wide receivers into the NFL. You used to put defensive backs. You used to put linebackers. You used to put linemen, offensive and defensive linemen, into the NFL. Since Hoke's come in, what have you really put into the NFL? There's nothing. There's nothing. Like you said, nothing is getting better. Absolutely nothing. On the other hand, conversely, it seems like Michigan State is now the quarterback powerhouse. You got Drew Stanton in Arizona looking supreme. You've got Kirk Cousins. You've got Brian Hoyer. I mean, it just every time you turn around, it seems like there's another apple that falls off that Michigan State quarterback tree. It just lands in the NFL.
Le'Veon Bell on primetime TV busting out an 80-yard touchdown run.
I mean, it's ridiculous the way things have flip-flopped and how these shoes are on other feet right now. And Michigan needs to recognize what is going on, and they need to address it. The Board of Regents needs to force David Brandon to go away. Kick him out.
Screw you! You're fired!
And when he goes, make sure there's a short leash attached to Brady Hoke's neck and pull him with you.
A lot of people are already speculating, okay, who could be next if Brady Hoke is shown the door? A lot of people are talking about head coach Sumlin, are talking about Jim Harbaugh. But the thing is this, would they come to Michigan in the state that it is? I mean, you're talking about a major rebuild. You're talking about maybe another 3 to 4 years. And I think a lot of people are saying, you know what? Head coach Sumlin is really talented. His next stop is going to be in the NFL. Jim Harbaugh right now is imploding out there in San Francisco. The players are rumored to be revolting against him. Would he come back here, and would Michigan be willing to pay a head coach double what they're paying Brady Hoke right now? I mean, Jim Harbaugh is making somewhere in the neighborhood of $7 million. Are you going to pay Jim Harbaugh $8 to $9 million to come to Michigan, and knowing that you've already spurned him once? So obviously the talk is possibly if you called Les Miles, he may come back and take the job, even though he was never even really talked to when Brady Hoke was hired. I mean, really, everyone's saying that, you know what, Dave Brandon just called up Brady Hoke, gave him the job, didn't really do a thorough search. So, Cuz, in your opinion, what do you think about the rumors regarding the head coaches, and who do you think is the best fit to bring back Michigan to the level they need to be at?
The one guy who I could see stepping in right now, taking this whole thing over and making it much, much better instantly, like making it do a 180, would be John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh has come under a lot of pressure with everything that's going on with the Ray Rice situation. According to reports that have come out, once he found out about the Ray Rice situation, he wanted Ray Rice gone. There were pressure from up top, from Ozzie Newsome and from the owner to say, no, we're going to keep it. We're going to try to cover this up. John Harbaugh said, no, I don't want this guy here anymore. This is bad. And then they have that really awkward that real awkward press conference where John Harbaugh is out there fielding questions. No Ozzie Newsome, no ownerships out there. There's nothing going on. It's just basically John Harbaugh out there hanging out to dry. Harbaugh has basically said that he would accept the job at Michigan if offered it. I think he's the one guy because he has NFL ties. He runs a pretty solid program. He runs that locker room of grown men, and he runs it well. I think he could come in here basically on name alone, being able to recruit. He's got the Harbaugh name himself, and just be able to come in and basically uplift this and make this team that much better and actually make them competitive in the Big Ten.
Okay, that's very interesting. I think that might be a good hire. That may be a good fit, given the fact that right now I'm sure Harbaugh is just exhausted dealing with this media circus that's going on with the Ray Rice situation. And then their owner just recently came out and had another conference and talk, and just basically I don't understand what's going on in the world of PR, that you don't get these guys a pre-packaged statement, make sure they say all the right things. I mean, every time these owners are stepping up to the mic, they're putting their foot in their mouth, and it's just making it a big, huge mess all along the way. And the added stress may push John Harbaugh to college football, and that would be interesting to see. But yeah, they need to act quick, and I think those fans that are in support of Brady Hoke are really, they have to have their patience being tested, because the program is not where it needs to be. The offense, in 2 losses versus Notre Dame and Utah, not only do you not score, you don't get to the red zone. Can you fathom that concept, that the offense cannot move the ball to within the 20-yard line of your opponent not once in 2 losses?
It's ridiculous.
That's unheard of.
Horrible. I mean, the fact that the defense puts up more points than you. What's really going on? This offense was supposed to be something miraculous and was supposed to basically just open up the floodgates to unleash Devin Gardner and Devin Funchess and these running backs that they have and basically get back to Michigan football and how they can sit there and pound the rock and run it on you. I haven't seen any of that.
Yeah, it's just obvious. Brady Hoke is overwhelmed that going from San Diego State to the likes of a Michigan was a far too big a jump. He maybe needed to take a Pac-10 job or maybe a different level job before coming to Michigan. And it's just, unfortunate right now that Michigan has gone through this now the last 7 years, that you've really fallen from grace. And the question is this: do you think they can come back to becoming nationally relevant. Because like you said, this is Michigan. Michigan was at a time favored to win the national title each and every year, and they had a strong team. When you knew when the season began, they were going to roll up 10 wins, and they were going to play, smash mouth football, stout defense, and they were going to make key plays. You're not seeing really any of that. And it's just unfortunate because the Big Ten is expanding. There's more talent across the league, and Michigan's going to have a bigger fight the longer they wait. So, in my opinion, cuz, they should have did it right then and there. I don't think that waiting to the end of the year is the best move for Michigan. You need to, unfortunately, let Brady Hoke go, wash your hands of this, roll out Nussmeier for the season. Unfortunately, what has to happen? Clean house. From top to bottom, the Michigan football program really, in order to become nationally relevant, needs to just start over. Admit, other teams have gone through this, the likes of Texas, UCLA, USC, Tennessee has fallen from grace. These things happen, and what needs to happen is you have to admit what's going on, understand, accept responsibility for the chaos that has happened, and you need to start over. You just need to start over, get the right head coach in place, get the right system in place for Michigan, and then you'll see success faster. But I think just riding the string out, all you're going to have now is a big, huge media storm following Brady Hoke, and it could get nastier. I mean, you have writers calling for his job. You have ESPN mocking Michigan for look where Michigan's at now with the whole picture of the Coke. And now you risk alienating your fans and boosters. I mean, you're going to give away free tickets
I think it's already happened. That's happened this entire season.
Yeah, when you are charging people $250 plus for a season pass to go to watch Michigan, and you're giving away tickets that are worth $75 face value for $3, I would be mad. And then you come out and say it wasn't approved. How was that not approved? That your hand should be in each and every situation. And so I think that once the story came out, I think my opinion is once the story came out, they spun it that way because they know
that's exactly what
they are not selling tickets. People, and the schedule is porous. It's horrid. We've talked about it. I would not want to go watch that schedule. And unfortunately, you come out with an announcement that you're going to play Texas in 2024. Whoop-de-whoop.
Right.
2024?
Yeah.
Why would you even announce that?
Why? There's no point. I seen that. They came across my ScoreCenter app, and I was like,
2024?
Who cares? Like, I might be dead by then. Who knows? Keep watching this Michigan product, I might kill myself.
Oh, man.
Can't handle this.
Yeah, so it's an all-around tough situation. And for Michigan, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But stay with us. After the break, we're going to get the perspective of the Detroit sports nation. Ky Carlin is going to come on to this podcast, make his first appearance from the Detroit sports nation, talking about the University of Michigan. And I'm interested to see his take regarding the fall of the once proud Wolverine Nation. Stay tuned.
I'm Megan McCormick out here in Fox Sports LA, and when I'm not sitting out in the sun, I'm listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast.
You got to check out their stuff. I mean, I'm really impressed by it. You guys have probably one of the better ones I've seen in the country.
Wow.
In a short period of time, you've done good work. Look at me kissing your hand.
I know.
All right, joining us on the line right now, he is a writer for the Detroit Sports Nation. We are in collaboration with them. They have great writers that come on this podcast and bring the noise, so we're greatly appreciated. He's the host of Getting Buckets. He writes about the Pistons and the Wolverines. Ky Carlin is on the line. How are you tonight, Ky?
I'm doing great, Ryan. How are you?
Oh, it's all good, man. We have you on to talk about the Wolverines. Unfortunately, it's been a rough week for fans of the Wolverines. The play on the field has been unacceptable. You got issues on the field, off the field. Give us your reaction so far to the Wolverines 2-2 start.
I mean, listen, if you watch the Michigan Wolverines each and every week, it comes down each and every week to Devin Gardner. Devin Gardner's play has been sporadic. It's been erratic, and it's been downright awful. And when it comes down to it, I read something, Terry Foster wrote it the other day for DetroitNews.com. He came out and said, if you keep running out the same guy and keep expecting different results each and every week, that's insanity. That's the definition of insanity. I think it's time to go with Shane Morris. I mean, I don't think Devin Gardner can do it. I lost all faith in Devin Gardner.
I understand, and I think a lot of fans have noticed that, he's a fifth-year senior, and he's regressed. And so Brady Hoke was supposed to announce who the starter was going to be on Tuesday, and the press conference came about, and he failed to announce the starter. And I just think that you can almost look to see what happened last year with the Spartans. The Spartans were struggling under Maxwell, and it was just obvious that he wasn't the guy. D'Antonio made the move, pulled him and put in Connor Cook, and the rest is history. I'm just surprised that they refused to do that. And give us your assessment so far on Brady Hoke, and do you think he survives this season?
No. Brady Hoke, when he first came in here, remember, he had Rich Rodriguez as guy. So when Brady Hoke came in here, he had Denard Robinson, he had basically all those spread option players. What Brady Hoke wants to play a pro system quarterback. Devin Gardner, I mean, Hoke tried to do it with him, but the thing is, he keeps trying to send out Devin Gardner each and every week. And like you said earlier, Gardner has regret. My assessment of Hoke is, I think he's done after this year. He hasn't made any adjustments. He still doesn't wear a headset when he's out there coaching.
What the hell is that about?
And he really doesn't look like he knows what he's doing. And I think the only way he keeps his job is if they beat both Michigan State and Ohio State this year, which I don't see happening. I think Hoke's done after this year.
Now, Ky, the news of the week, obviously, that's concerned many fans and angered a lot of the Michigan supporters is this whole ticket discount thing they did with Coca-Cola. I mean, a lot of fans are upset paying good money for tickets, and you got reports coming out that they were willing to give away $75 tickets for $3. What was your reaction to that?
My reaction to that was, I can't lie, I laughed. Because is that how bad it is for Michigan football now? Like, you have to fill out these tickets with a bottle of Coke, $3? Is that how bad it is? Because if you watch the Michigan-Utah game, Michigan sells out each and every week. It's Michigan. They're the most winningest program in college football. And it's come down to this. There were so many patches of empty seats on Saturday against Utah. So is Michigan really that desperate? Now, I know the report came out that Michigan said they denied any access Coke had to, give away their tickets. But at the same time, it's like, did Michigan do something to be like, we have to do something. We got to start selling tickets again. They have a big game this week against Minnesota. Guaranteed they don't sell out.
Yeah, you can see large pockets of empty seats, and I don't blame the fans. I mean, right now, the Michigan Wolverines are nowhere near contention, and the program is really at an all-time low, in my opinion. Just being a Spartan fan is just really different. It's really different to see where Michigan is at compared to Michigan State. But let's talk about the possibility of future candidates. I mean, a lot of people are pinning their hopes on big names, including John or Jim Harbaugh, Les Miles, Coach Sumlin. Who do you think is the most likely candidate, and who do you think is the best candidate to lead Michigan out of the doldrums?
Well, I think the best candidate is probably Jim Harbaugh. He's a Michigan guy, and I know a lot of Michigan fans are pushing for Jim Harbaugh. I saw another report where it said that Michigan is going to push hard for Harbaugh in the light that if Hoke eventually does get fired. So I think Jim Harbaugh is next. Will he leave San Francisco? Probably not. He's got some good things going on there with the 49ers, but I think Jim Harbaugh would probably be next in line, in my opinion.
A lot of people are wondering, will a guy like Jim Harbaugh come to the University of Michigan if Dave Brandon is still the AD? Do you think Dave Brandon has to be axed as well in order to get a high-profile coach?
I don't think so. I think it's I think Dave Brandon, remember, he's the athletic director. He's not just a football director. He's the athletic director of Michigan. And he's done a pretty solid job at the basketball program. If you look at Michigan basketball, Michigan basketball is a joke. Michigan basketball is considered one of the top programs in the country. So I think Dave Brandon does a solid job. Brady Hoke, he was a good hire from the beginning. When he hired Hoke, I thought it was a great hire. But it hasn't worked out. He has not done the job. You got to do what you got to do. I think Jim Harbaugh would definitely come with Dave Brandon there or not.
Interesting. Now, you had said earlier that your opinion is Michigan, it would behoove Michigan to start Shane Morris. What do you think he brings to the table, and what can he do to lift an obviously struggling offense?
Personally, I can't lie. I don't think Shane Morris is as good either. I mean, I look at these two Michigan quarterbacks, Shane Morris and Devin Gardner. Like I said earlier, it's coming down to the point where you keep trying to send out Devin Gardner, and you keep trying to do the same thing each and every week, but nothing happens. You're expecting different results each and every week, but yet you get the same thing. I think it's time to see what Shane Morris can do. He didn't play all that bad in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. Send Morris out there and see what he can do. I mean, I think at this point, what do you got to lose? You're 2-2. You're 2-2. You're probably out of college football playoffs. What have you got to lose?
Okay, Ky, let me ask you this. Minnesota comes to the Big House. I think the record is 3-1. What do you see happening this Saturday, and do you see Michigan potentially coming out of this game with the victory?
Do I think Michigan wins this week? I hope so. I mean, from a Michigan fan standpoint, like not even as a beat writer or any of that. From a Michigan fan standpoint, I certainly hope they win this week. The Big Ten opener. Hopefully, Hopefully it changes some things in the Michigan Wolverine football locker room. But it comes down to this. If Hoke sends out Gardner again, Minnesota wins. Even if he sends out Morris, Minnesota wins. The quarterbacks aren't as good as everybody thinks they are. Also, Michigan's offensive line is in shambles. Too young. They're not as good as everybody thinks they are. Michigan's offensive line is mediocre. And that's not going to get done with two erratic quarterbacks like Shane Morris and Devin Gardner. I think Minnesota wins this week by 2 touchdowns.
Oh boy, Ky. If Michigan loses back-to-back versus Utah and Minnesota, I think you might have to consider showing Brady Hoke the door mid-season, because you're going to have probably an attendance less than 100K. The fans are getting on the program day after day. They're getting beat up all over town. They're getting beat up nationally. So I think they're going to play a good game. I'm not sure they're going to win. I don't think they're going to lose by 2 touchdowns. I think Minnesota might edge it out in the end, but you're absolutely right. Your assessment is spot on. Michigan is struggling on all fronts, and it was interesting that Brady Hoke and his longtime defensive coordinator, Madison, were going at it on the sideline. So things are falling apart at the seams, and I think that Michigan needs to definitely play their best game this Saturday. Otherwise, you're looking at a long, long football season.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. You look at this Michigan football squad, and even the alumni coming out saying things. Former great Michigan wide receiver Braylon Edwards went out on Twitter and said, "Who is this Michigan football team? Who are these guys? I don't know who these guys are." Even Braylon Edwards has come out. He's questioned guys like Brady Hoke. He's questioned Greg Madison and Doug Nussmeier and everybody else. Even the alumni are beginning to get disappointed. It's not just the fans, it's the alumni. And when you disappoint the alumni, change need to happen quickly.
Tell our listeners where they can find you, where they can read your work, and tell them where they can find you on Facebook and Twitter.
All right, guys. I'll write for DetroitSportsNation.com. Again, DetroitSportsNation.com. You can find me up on there. All Piston stuff, Michigan basketball. You can follow me on Twitter at Ky_Carlin. You can find me on Facebook again as well, Ky Carlin, KY Carlin, CARLIN.
Ky, great job, man. You're welcome here on the Detroit Sports Podcast anytime. Hope you have a great night.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
That was Ky Carlin. Wow, he did a great job. I'm impressed. Hopefully we get to talk to him again in the future. He's got big things ahead of him. I know he did an internship at ESPN over the summer, and he's got a love of radio, and he's obviously got great talent, and he's got a lot of insight regarding the Michigan program. Because let's turn the tide a little bit. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive, something that brought us joy over the weekend. Our Detroit Lions. When all of us speculated that this could be a game where we crapped the bed with the depleted secondary, Aaron Rodgers coming in with a 9-1 record versus the Lions, having defeated us every game that he completed, the Lions came out with a 19-7 defensive performance. In that game, a lot of thought was given towards, wow, what was going on with Green Bay's strategy there? They tried to smash mouth the Lions. And that really was surprising when you know that, you know what? The Lions secondary is depleted. I thought Aaron Rodgers would test them out a little bit more. But the defense, give them credit. Hey, it's not our fault that Green Bay came to the table with a crappy, strategy. We did what we had to do. We played great defense. We overcame the mistakes. There was definitely a lot to talk about in terms of areas of improvement. But the key thing is, you make those mistakes, but you get the victory. 19-7 versus the Green Bay Packers. I was pleasantly surprised. I was impressed. But at the same time, I'm really, really surprised that Stephen Tulloch would blow out his ACL in that fashion. Okay, talk about a football injury. You talk about a guy that's played well over 8-9 seasons without missing a game. You make a key play against Aaron Rodgers. You jump up as high as you can and you do the discount double check and you land awkwardly and blow out your ACL.
What the hell's going on out here?
Are you serious?
I think that's probably the most concerning issue right now for this Lions team.
We can't absorb that many more hits.
No, at this point, they're going to be playing shorthanded out there because they don't have any more depth. They've got nobody else they can basically plug in. I mean, that secondary, we talked about it ad nauseum. That's beleaguered and beat up. And I believe Kerry went down in that game. And then you got Stephen Tulloch, who's basically, he is the centerpiece of that linebacking core. He is your middle linebacker. He goes down now with a knee injury, so now you got to shuffle all these linebackers around, and you're probably going to end up moving DeAndre Levy to the middle. Ashley Palmer's going to come in and play on the outside, and it's just I don't know how this is going to work because you're basically trying to fit pieces in as you go along. And I know football is next man up all the time, but geez, we're only into week 3. We're going into week 4 now, and how many more injuries can this team sustain?
So, Cuz, coming off of the weekend, what has surprised you the most in terms of the Lions?
I think the win itself was shocking, but that's not the thing that really kind of blows your mind. The offense, or the lack thereof, with so many weapons, you would expect Stafford to be more productive, and we're not seeing it yet, and I don't know if that's just a case of him trying to learn the playbook or him trying to maybe force some things. He looked good at certain points during that game. He would stand in the pocket, he would take a hit, and he would deliver a great pass. But that offense, you would expect it to be coming along a little bit more quickly. However, this defense, I don't understand how it has sustained so many injuries and yet is so productive. I mean, you said it yourself. It's the number 1 defense in all of football right now. That's something that I think is just shocking. It's something we've never seen before. I mean, they've been competitive in certain parts of the defense, whether it be the rush game or the pass game. Generally, it's the rush game. But number 1 overall? I mean, this is amazing. They're allowing less than 250 yards a game at this point, which is outstanding. So I think this defense is probably the most shocking thing. If they have actually developed and built a solid defense without actually drafting anything or plugging anything in, that bodes well for the future and going forward. Because we've talked about it before, you need to have a stout defense. I really hope that this just isn't because we've played Aaron Rodgers and they tried to do something that was a little bit different. They tried to reinvent the wheel on the fly and run the ball instead of just passing all over us. Or I hope this isn't because we played the Giants and they're just decrepit. Or we've played the Carolina Panthers and we had a rusty Cam Newton. You know, I'm hoping it's not these things. I'm hoping that this is legit. The more and more this goes on, the more and more it really does. It feels like this is what we're working with.
And it's great that the Lions are taking care of business at home. They're playing pretty well. And a couple things that are interesting and need to be noted. The play of Darius Slay and DeAndre Levy has really carried the defense. I mean, Slay has kind of pleasantly surprised everyone in terms of the level of his improvement. He did not get torched. They are obviously testing him. They're going to his side, and he's made plays. He's made, adjustments. He's getting to the ball. He's finding the ball, not getting pass interference penalties. And DeAndre Levy carrying on his level of significant play from last season. I mean, he's emerged as a leader and someone that if he goes down, forget it. You're going to have a big problem. And it just goes to show right now that had the Lions really drafted for depth, then we could have absorbed some of these issues. I mean, Ebron still, not really a non-factor in the game. You really miss a guy like a Kyle Van Noy now who's out. You would like to have those guys in your lineup. And then you go out in free agency and get ahead of Bo. Where's he been? You got a guy, I don't understand. He had a history of neck injuries and a history of neck problems, and now he's missed 3 straight games. You need him on the field. So while the play on the field has been excellent and, been an eye-opener, the continued issues in the front office, I'm hoping and praying that it doesn't affect the play on the field. Because if you don't put together, a roster that has a little bit of depth, then things could collapse pretty quickly, starting with the Jets game.
Darius Slay, by the way, Pro Football Talk has just come out and ranked the cornerbacks. Darius Slay is ranked 9 overall, and in coverage, he's a top 5 cornerback, which is outstanding. That's great to hear. And you're right. DeAndre Levy is kind of the straw that makes that drink stir around. If it's not for him and his awesome beard, we would be, I have no idea. It definitely wouldn't be a number 1 defense, that's for sure. It'd probably be on the other end. But what are your thoughts on Eric Ebron? I mean, I think the most telling and most concerning thing is this guy has 3 receptions in 3 games. And then you look at a guy that the Lions could have had, a guy like Kyle Fuller, who has had more or just as many interceptions as Ebron has passes caught. Fuller caught his 3rd interception on Monday Night Football. Eric Ebron only has 3 receptions for the entire season. Could you imagine plugging a guy like Kyle Fuller in on this defense and what that would mean? I think it'd be outstanding. I think you're right. It'd help you absorb some of these losses that you're suffering.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, in the situation with Ebron, he's in a situation now that how do you justify giving him the ball? How does Matthew Stafford feel confident throwing that guy the ball? When you got Calvin Johnson, who he obviously wants to target. You got Golden Tate, who fights and fights for yards after the catch. You got Reggie Bush and the running game that needs to be established. So right now, unfortunately, he's kind of in the background in terms of the offense. He needs to be showcased, and he needs to be a red zone threat. And yes, it's concerning, but at the same time, you know what? There's other more important issues that we got to look at. Ebron has to step up, but unfortunately, he's on the team. He's not going anywhere. He's on the team, and I'm hoping that maybe by the game after the break, I think the Lions play 8 straight games and then they have the bye week. We can start seeing flashes that he understands the offense and can become more of a threat. So that's my take on Ebron, is that we got to wait and see. Unfortunately, he's on the team, and they used the 10th pick on him. He's going to have to develop, and I think it's just going to take time, and we're just going to have to sit here and be patient. But my thought process was, in terms of watching the game versus Green Bay, was, how does Matthew Stafford compare to Aaron Rodgers? It was such an interesting game in that Stafford made some early mistakes, made some bad throws, but yet overcame it and kind of managed the game. And so it's just interesting to think about, okay, can we win games with Matthew Stafford just kind of being average and not turning the ball over? Right now, Matthew Stafford's throwing a lot of picks, and he's got that gunslinger mentality, but those are troubling signs, because if those interceptions happen later in games, then we could have problems. So Matthew Stafford, I kind of give him a B- for that game. I think he played a decent game. He managed the game. He overcame his mistakes early. He held us in the game, and he managed the game. Now, on the other end, Aaron Rodgers, I'm utterly surprised that the Green Bay Packers only put up 7 points. Wow, I literally thought it was going to be 38-31 Green Bay. All credit, all kudos goes to the Lions defense, coming out with the game plan and sticking to it. You hold serve. Now it's incumbent upon this team to, when it's time to go out to Green Bay, to handle their business there. That's something they just haven't been able to do. So Matthew Stafford has to continue to get better. I'm hoping, like I said, he hasn't plateaued. I'm hoping he can take that next step, because you see it. When he makes those mistakes, he doesn't set his feet, he overthrows the ball. Matthew Stafford's a quarterback that he can improvise. He can improvise plays. But if he doesn't use his fundamentals correctly, if he doesn't set his feet, he doesn't do the things that he needs to do, then his throws can become errant and he can have problems.
The most frustrating part about him is he has so much talent. And you've seen it on a few passes in that game against Green Bay, where it just looked like the roof was collapsing in on him. And somehow he either hung in the pocket or he just kind of sat there and moved to his right or moved to his left and basically just threw off that back foot. And he put so much power on that ball, it just ends up in the receiver's hands. It's kind of amazing to watch him when he is improvising, because it's a great skill and it's a great talent to have. It's just one of those things you want to see him take that next step and ascend to that next level. And I really think for them to sit there and be competitive in this NFC North, he has to step up and he has to arise to that next level. Do you think that this Detroit Lions team, let's put it all out there on the table. Do you think this Detroit Lions team will win the NFC North this year?
I think they have as good a shot as any. And so far, I like what I'm seeing from head coach Caldwell. He's keeping an even keel. It looks like, when players are not performing well, they're held accountable. Nate Freese was shown the door. How unfortunate was that Rob Baronis was actually brought in last week to try out for Nate Freese's job, and then just, you heard the news Sunday that he passed away, and it was just so eerie.
Can I tell you a little story? So on Sunday morning, I was at work, and I was sitting there, and I jumped into an elevator, and I reached down, grabbed my phone, and I flipped open my phone, and I got the news that Rob Baronis had passed away. And I was like, whoa. I was like, if the Lions would have cut Nick Freese last week, would Rob Baronis still be alive today? Because he'd be playing. He wouldn't have been in that car accident. So it's just kind of weird how sometimes life works out. It's really and truly, it's just kind of like intersecting invisible lines that just kind of happen, and you can just kind of take a right when you should have took a left, and next thing you know, Rob Baronis is dead.
For the Lions, I think that, bringing in Henry is a little bit of a concern. This guy lost his job to an undrafted kicker. He's coming in here and, how is he going to handle kicks over 50? Because I think last season he had difficulty. But in terms of the Lions and winning the division, I think that the division is there to be taken. And it looks like Chicago, if they get rolling, might be the number one competitor. I think that Chicago is a team under Trestman that has the talent and has big playmakers that can cause damage for the Lions. The Lions have only won the division, I think maybe 3 times in the last couple dozen years. Last season, 2 of the top quarterbacks in the division were out, and you didn't win the division. So it has to be a goal, and it has to be attainable. But I think the unfortunate thing is the division as a whole just doesn't look as strong as it has been in past seasons. That doesn't mean the Lions can't go out and take it. The Lions have enough talent to do it. It's just one of those situations where we really can't absorb any more injuries, and we have to continue to establish the run, have a balanced offense, and to limit the mistakes. With that said, we win the home games. You handle your business on the road. I think that I'm going to say it. I think the Lions make the playoffs this year as the NFC North division champs.
Oh, wow. Going out on a limb.
I'm going to be positive.
Putting it out there.
I have a good feeling of what I'm seeing. I think that the Lions are winning games despite not playing their A-plus football. Imagine if they play A-plus football. The sky's the limit. I think that with an offense that's capable of putting up that many points, if they can just turn that corner and get rolling, look out.
I think the best point you made was the NFC North isn't as strong as I think we all initially thought it was. Green Bay doesn't look like the team that they used to be. Chicago looks good. They look better than I think most of us thought that they were going to look. Minnesota, without Adrian Peterson, that offense is pretty stagnant. Detroit looks a lot better than I think we all initially thought as well. I don't know if Detroit has enough to win the NFC North because I think Chicago is probably going to win it this year. Initially, just looking at it 3 weeks in, I think Chicago is the front runner. And I think that's just because they have a better defense that isn't as banged up as Detroit's. And I think that offense, as long as Jay Cutler's not forcing the ball and he keeps playing the way he's playing, I think they will ascend to that next level and they will take the NFC North. However, Green Bay, I think it's going to come down to Green Bay and Detroit. I think if Detroit can win that game in Lambeau, pants off, dance off for sure. I think Detroit definitely takes second in the NFC North, and I think they get into the playoffs.
Ooh, and it all starts again. No time for rest. We play Sunday versus the New York Jets on the road. And Rex Ryan, I'm sure, is still steaming from that loss to the Bears. And I just hope that they don't take out their vengeance at defense on the Lions. That game is going to be tough to call. That game could be a high-scoring game back and forth, or it could be one of those 10-7, 10-3 kind of games. So I'm interested to see what kind of game this shapes out to be with Rex Ryan matching his wits on defense versus Lombardi on our offense. So it'll be interesting to see a great game, and I'm hoping the Lions can go 3-1. Yeah, baby. Stay with us. After the break, we're going to get Jeff Deacon from the Detroit Sports Nation on the line to give us his thoughts regarding our Tigers in one of the most stressful weeks that we've had this Major League Baseball season. Stay with us after the break. As advertised, joining us on the line, he is the managing editor of the Detroit Sports Nation. You've heard him on our podcast before, our Tigers insider from the Detroit Sports Nation, Jeff Deacon. How are you tonight, Jeff?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Oh, much better today. The Tigers and JV put on an excellent performance to win the series versus the White Sox. JV went 8 innings strong, gave us a legitimate shot to win. And the White Sox, I don't know what Chris Sale's strategy was and what his thinking was in plunking Victor Martinez. He was cruising along, and it just seemed that once Martinez was hit and the benches cleared, the Tigers' bats woke up.
Yeah, I mean, they played a real solid game. I mean, it was a pitcher's duel for the first 7 innings or so, and yeah, like you said, real dumb mistake by Chris Sale to give the Tigers some of that energy and maybe kind of fueled their adrenaline. Benches clearing and the bullpen's rushing onto the field can give you some energy like that. But definitely, I'm not sure what he was thinking in that situation. It was a stupid thing for Sale to do, especially since there have been rumors that the White Sox are going to try to go after Victor Martinez in the offseason. So, I mean, I know there were some rumors about maybe Victor was getting pitches tipped to him, but, no one's going to come out and accept responsibility for that. But all in all, solid game by the Tigers and a real dumb move by Chris Sale this afternoon.
Yeah, this last week of the season is proving out so far to be pretty good. We're still 1 game up on Kansas City, and it looks as of now that the Indians are up 3-0 on the Royals, so that could potentially, by the time this airs, we could be up 2 games in the division. How do you see this last series shaping up, and do you think the Tigers will be celebrating another AL Central victory?
Well, it's going to be a great series for one. The Twins always give the Tigers their best baseball, and there's no reason to think that we'll see the otherwise. So I think the Tigers will take 3 or 4, and I've said all along, talking with you guys and other people, that I think that the Tigers will win the division, and I think they'll clinch either on Friday or Saturday. They don't have to go up against Phil Hughes, who has been one of the Twins' best pitchers, really one of the best pitchers in baseball this season. And not many people talk about him because he's up there in Minnesota, but that will definitely help. And the way the rotation is set with Max Scherzer going to Thursday, Porcello on Friday, Lobstein on Saturday, and then David Price in the finale on Sunday. I think it works out great for the Tigers, and they're going to see a lot of the same pitchers. They're actually almost the exact same rotation that we saw in Minnesota when the Tigers were up there a couple weeks ago. It's going to be a great end of the season, and I'm picking the division win.
Let's just look at some concerns that I see on our Twitter feed and that we debate back and forth. The first game in the series versus the White Sox, David Price pitches a gem. Is in the ninth inning, he's approaching 100 pitches, and you see that he's obviously struggling. You know, you bring in Joe Nathan, okay, fine, we won the game, thank goodness. But a lot of the fans, and maybe myself too, are wondering, why doesn't Brad Ausmus use Soria in the ninth inning? I mean, he is so reluctant to use Soria only, and like we chatted, he only appears to use him when we're losing. So you got a gem there. You got a gem in Soria. You got a guy that if you look at his numbers and his sabermetrics, is pitching pretty well. Why not give him a try? What do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't really have a good explanation for why Ausmus hasn't used him in the ninth inning in place of Nathan. I don't think he pitched on Tuesday because Soria pitched on Sunday and on Monday. So my guess is that Brad Ausmus wanted to give him a day off. I can definitely see where the frustration comes from because between those games on Sunday and Monday, he only pitched 17 pitches total combined for those two games. So, I mean, I've said all along that one thing that I'll say critical of Brad Ausmus this season is that his handling of the closer's role. There simply isn't a good answer that I can think of for not using Soria in the ninth, other than Nathan has another year on his contract and he's going to get paid $10 million, and taking him out of that closer's role, what's that going to do for next season? And I think Ausmus wants to get players on his side and make sure that they know he's a loyal guy. So even though Nathan has struggled, and I hear you, I'm with you 100% that I think he's been given way too many chances, but I just think that, you know, Nathan is probably going to be the guy going into the playoffs the Tigers will use, even though much of Tiger Nation is tired of him and, you know, quite upset that we have one more year with him still.
Yeah, I'm just hoping, I'm just crossing my fingers that we don't see any blown leads in the playoffs should we make it. Now, in speaking of Brad Ausmus, another point of contention in kind of looking at his managerial style is when the Tigers struggle on offense, that he starts consistently like Romine, Don Kelly, you know, that you think, why are they in the lineup? I think if he consistently put in James McCann versus, you know, left-handed pitching, we could see an improvement and more consistent play on the offense. What do you think? What have you seen in terms of the lineups that Brad Ausmus has set?
I mean, the past few weeks, most of the season, I think they've been pretty consistent with Kinsler in the leadoff role, and then Torrey Hunter batting number 2, Cabrera, Victor, and JD. That was pretty solid top part of the lineup. He has been kind of tweaking the bottom half of the lineup, mainly because there really hasn't been much production other than the guys I just mentioned. So a couple guys that you spoke of, James McCann, I don't think putting him in is really going to do too much. He's only 2 for 11 since he's come up with the Tigers, and he's a rookie. And in the playoffs, when there's a lot on the line, there's a lot of nerves, I don't think that I would really put him out there in a situation where you need to get a hit, especially because he's so young. And honestly, I'd probably keep Alex Avila in over him. I think Avila's presence behind the plate is much more valuable to the Tigers than McCann's bat, in my opinion. So I think as long as Avila's healthy and his health issues are well documented, as long as he's healthy, he'll get the call in the postseason. I think he brought up Andrew Romine. You know, the Tigers really haven't gotten any power from a shortstop position this season. So whether it's Andrew Romine playing shortstop or Eugenio Suarez, I really don't think there makes too much of a difference in terms of power. Now, Suarez can definitely put the ball in play better than Romine. I've kind of been laughing at Romine because I think he's a strikeout machine, even worse than Avila. But from a power standpoint, I don't see much difference between Romine and Suarez. So whether Austin decides to play one or the other, I don't think it makes much of a difference.
Okay, and then JV is obviously pitched significantly better in his last few starts, and he's starting to look like the JV of old. Talk about his importance and what spot you think he'll be in the starting rotation when the playoffs come about.
Well, he's going to be huge for the Tigers. You know, God forbid the Tigers have a huge collapse in the last series against Minnesota. I think he's the one that would get tapped for the game 163 if there's a play-in game or if the Tigers fall behind in the division and they end up playing a wild card game. I would have absolutely no problem throwing Verlander out there. And he's won his last 3 starts. He's been absolutely great. Today was just another example of how he can really dial in when he needs to. So he'll definitely be one of the and probably get the first start in the playoffs, whether it's a play-in game, a wild card game, or game one of the ALDS. But like I said, I have no problem putting him out there in a big game situation right now. He's pitching very, very well.
Finally, talk about Kyle Lobstein. I mean, once Anibal Sanchez went down, a lot of us were really panicking, but Kyle Lobstein has come in and pitched dutifully, and unfortunately he was an unlucky loser versus, I think, the White Sox, only giving up that home run and the Tigers losing 2-0. But if Kyle Lobstein can be used effectively in the bullpen, that gives Brad Ausmus a lot more options in the 7th, 8th, 9th innings. If you can put potentially Sanchez and Lobstein in there in the bullpen, you got some guys that can get some outs and eat some innings should the starters struggle.
Yeah, absolutely, and he's a left-handed pitcher too, so that just adds another arm to the arsenal. Really, he's been one of the pleasant surprises of the second half of the season in the September call-ups. He got a little bit unlucky last time, like I said, against Chicago, but he pitched very well for a rookie, 25 years old. This is his first big league action. I think that if one of the starters does struggle a little bit in the playoff start, I think he'd be one of the first guys that you see out of the bullpen, maybe a 5th or 6th inning guy. And like you said, Anibal Sanchez is going to be really whether Ausmus wants to put a lefty in the game or a right-handed, it's going to be either Lobstein or Sanchez. Should one of the starters kind of falter and we need the middle relief. But yeah, he's pitched great, and I have full confidence in him going forward.
Jeff Deacon from the Detroit Sports Nation has been kind enough to give us his time. Jeff, I really appreciate your insight all season long, and I hope the next time we get a chance to speak that we can talk and break down one of the playoff series.
Sounds great. Look forward to it.
It's always a pleasure talking to the writers from the Detroit Sports Nation. We greatly appreciate our collaboration with them. I appreciate talking to Ky earlier and talking to Jeff Deacon. Check out the writers at the Detroit Sports Nation on Facebook. You can find their Facebook page. You can go to their website, DetroitSportsNation.com, for great content regarding Detroit sports. And they always have a strong presence here in our collaboration with them, and they're always welcome on the Detroit Sports Podcast. All right, cuz, you heard what Jeff said. This is the most stressful week now for the Detroit Tigers. I think there's a strong chance that the division race could come down to the final couple games. What was concerning so far this week is you had that opening game versus the White Sox, and you had a power outage. I mean, Kyle Lobstein has done all that he could do to put you in a situation to overcome the loss of Anibal Sanchez, who I think was activated on Tuesday.
Can we talk about that kid for a second? I mean, he was basically put in a bad spot. This Detroit team, the front office was basically just going through looking for anybody who could basically stem the tide. This kid comes in and does an admirable job. Admirable job. He will definitely be on this playoff roster, and I think there might be a small fine there. I think that kid might have something. You know, he looks good. He was put in a really bad spot. They were sitting there they went through AAA, they went through AA, they went to single A, and they basically pulled this kid just like a rabbit out of the hat, and they plugged him in. And I just think he's done a great job. And without him, we wouldn't even be talking about the Tigers possibly winning a division right now. If you really think about it, we wouldn't be able to talk about it because they would have sat there and just had a whole bunch of losses if it wasn't for this kid. So I think he's done a great job.
It was definitely a tough luck loss on Monday night. You give up that home run early, and then the Tigers offense really, went stale versus a rookie who had injury problems with the White Sox earlier this season. But I just think that, this is the most exciting time of the year, cuz I would rather have this than a situation where the Tigers are 10 games up at this point in time. Every pitch right now, this week, we're at the week of September 21st, 2014. Right now, we are playing meaningful games in September. Each and every pitch is important. We're all scoreboard watching. We're all hoping that Cleveland could, put a dent in Kansas City's arsenal. But it's going to come down to this last weekend. I'm curious to see how the Tigers handle adversity and how the Tigers manage this most pressure-packed situation, because everyone says they've done it in the past. They've done it in the past. They've shown that they have the ability with the experience to overcome tough situations and win the division. But should they fail, I think that they still got a decent and above average chance of making the playoffs. I mean, with the starting rotation, with the improved play of, with the play of the offense, I think they have enough
Is it acceptable, though, if they don't win the division and they just kind of back into the playoffs? Because for me, it's not acceptable. I expect them to win the division. I actually need them to win the division. It's totally not acceptable for me if they sit there and the Royals win this division and the Tigers take a wild card. I can't handle that. It's totally unacceptable to me. This team was supposed to be 6-7 games up by now. And I know injuries and crazy things happen, but you've had pieces that have stepped in and done great work for you, and yet you find yourself in this situation, in this predicament.
With the payroll that they have, with the expectations that they have, you obviously want to make a deep run in the playoffs. But we're set up the best position we had. I mean, going into the last week, you have all your games at home. You're playing the White Sox and the Twins. So I really got a strong feeling that the Twins series is going to decide it. I'm expecting that the Tigers sweep the Twins. I don't see them letting up. I think they're going to understand the gravity of the situation, and we're going to have to hope that Kansas City slips first, which they have shown. The Royals have been playing lights-out baseball for a long period of time this season, and can they step up their game to another level to overtake the Tigers? I really just don't see it happening, so I'm hoping for a big celebration this weekend, and the Tigers taking the AL Central for the 4th straight year. And so I'm hoping that we can start talking in the next podcast about our playoff matchup. It's a little bit disappointing that the Orioles got home field advantage now for the early rounds based on the fact the Tigers lost early in the week to the White Sox. But it's okay. I think the Tigers match up well with the teams like the Orioles, the teams like the A's, or should it be the Angels? We match up. No team's. I don't think we're going to get swept in any series. When you got Price and Scherzer, you got a chance to win at least 1 out of every 2 games. And so it's going to depend on Verlander. It's going to depend on Porcello. The biggest concern, though, cuz coming down the stretch, the Tigers have lost an enormous amount of games that Porcello has pitched since he won his 15th game. He was at one point, 15-5, 15-6. Now he's at 15-12?
Yeah,
that's a big concern. He's got to step it up.
He's lost his last 6 out of 8 games, which isn't good. The only hope is that he can kind of turn the corner here going down this final stretch. And I think you kind of see what you're going to get with your starting rotation. I think it's probably going to go Price, it's going to go Scherzer, Verlander, and then I think Porcello will probably be your 4th starter if they do make the playoffs. And then you're going to have Anibal coming out of the bullpen, which I think will be a nice addition.
Anibal and Lobstein.
Yes. Would you put Anibal as your closer if Nathan continues to struggle and Soria doesn't necessarily look right?
See, here's the biggest problem. I really think that Brad Ausmus will go down with the ship, and he will go down with Joe Nathan. He has shown him an enormous amount of patience despite, 7 blown saves. He is looking at the longer-term picture. He's seeing that, Joe Nathan has pitched a little bit better. Problem is the other numbers are horrible. There are so many men getting on base when he starts that it's just he's putting himself in tough situations to get these saves each and every outing. And in the playoffs, I am not comfortable if the Tigers are going to have a 1-run lead going in the 9th inning. I'm not going to lie, my ass will be puckered up, and I'll be like, oh man. And I just, you almost can foresee the pain happening as we speak here before the playoffs, that there's going to be at least one game that Joe Nathan may blow a save. And I'm hoping it's not a critical game like we're in a 1-1 series, but I have a feeling, based on what we've seen, I don't see that happening. I mean, the pattern would suggest that, if you were going to do it, you would do it early in the season when Joe Nathan has been struggling significantly. All the numbers, all the sabermetrics point to the fact that Nathan is nowhere near the closer that he was in the past. But he hasn't done it. So I think that he may be willing to tinker with the 7th, 8th inning guys and have Sanchez and Lobstein and the other pitchers mix and match. But it's going to be imperative that the main guys, Jabba Chamberlain has to get it back. Jabba Chamberlain the last couple outings has been giving up hits. His curveball hasn't been there. And if he doesn't turn it around and Al Albuquerque gives up those key hits, it has all the makings of a disastrous situation with the bullpen. And unfortunately, that's the biggest hole for the Tigers. And the fact is, the offense has to be consistent from top to bottom.
I agree with you 100%. This pitching rotation, this from the bullpen standpoint, needs to kind of come together, especially this last week, and get things worked out. I myself would put Sanchez in as my closer. I'm really tired of the antics of Joe Nathan. I think Joe Nathan would do a fine job as either your 7th inning guy, maybe your 8th inning guy. I would probably put Nathan as my 7th and put Soria as my 8th, and then let Anibal be my closer. And basically Jabba and the crew, let them kind of work any of my long relief or my middle innings. And if one of those guys needs a break, Jabba can come in and fill in. He's done it before. He'll do it again. But that's kind of how I see it working out.
It's so exciting because here we go. And the Royals play the White Sox, I think on the road, if my schedule here on the internet is correct. But it's okay if I'm wrong. We still play the White Sox. It just depends where. I think that Kansas City's going to do some damage. I think that they have a strong chance of doing some good things versus the White Sox. But, hey, if the White Sox can do us a favor and play the best baseball they played all year and take out the Royals, basically the Tigers have to handle their business. Win the majority of your games the rest of the way, and you're going to be in the playoffs. Yeah, so it looks like, looking at the schedule here at ESPN, I just pulled it up, the Royals are playing 4 games on the road versus the White Sox. So please have a great homestand in Chicago, and let's handle our business here at home versus the Twins. I'm going to forecast that we're going to be spraying champagne on Sunday, baby. Get ready. I think we're going to clinch the division on Sunday, and we'll know who the playoff matchup is, and the next podcast that we do, we'll be coming at you with our playoff predictions and our analysis of the first round matchup. I can't wait. All right, cuz, we're at that point in the show where we do our NFL picks. I had a great week. Unfortunately, you and I aren't doing well picking the Lions. I think we've picked wrongly the last 2 games for the Lions. But, hey, last week I was happy to be wrong. I was happy that we both picked Green Bay, and the Lions overcame, and they won the game. But in the regular rounds, I went 3 for 3. And it wasn't that difficult. I mean, I took Oakland getting a massive amount of points on the road, and they played pretty decent for their embattled coach, but they still lost. So I was happy. I closed the gap to 8-7 in our picks. You did pretty good too. You got 2 right in the regular round, and it's not bad. Going 2 out of 3 every week, cuz will do us both well in the later rounds, but it's that time of the week. I have the first pick, so I am going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers with my first pick. I think Tampa Bay right now is in a transitional phase, and I don't think that they're playing the top-of-the-line football. I'm really kind of surprised, though. They started off the season winless in terms of the fact that, you would think that a coach like Lovie Smith would change the culture, but right now they got some key injuries, and I think Pittsburgh is playing pretty well. So with my first pick, I'm taking the Pittsburgh Steelers over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Funny, that was the first game I had on my sheet. I'm also taking the Steelers over Tampa Bay. You know what it really seems like to me that's going on in Tampa Bay? It seems like they brought this quarterback in, they inserted him as the starter, and nobody wants to play for him. They want to play for the guy that they had last year. They want to play for Glennon, and it just looks like nobody on that team is even engaged right now. So I think the Steelers roll in there, and I think it's black and yellow.
I am rolling on the Andrew Luck train. My man got me 46 points, and I'm quite frankly curious as to why my opponent last week, Josh, if you're listening, didn't play Kirk Cousins. I mean, my friend, had you played Kirk Cousins, you would have got 40 points versus the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a rivalry game. They usually play well, and you started Cam Newton versus Pittsburgh. Well, I don't know if you've been hitting up your boy Adam there, but if he told you to play Cam, okay, fine, but had you played Kirk Cousins...
I'd been playing KC all day.
You would have been playing KC, and you would have got the victory, but hey, what are you going to do? You lost. But I'm still riding the Andrew Luck train, number 2 ranked fantasy quarterback, and I foresee a blowout. The Indianapolis Colts play the Tennessee Titans, so with my second pick, I'm taking the Colts victorious over the Titans.
All right, with my second pick, I've got the Jacksonville Jaguars plus 14 in San Diego. I think the Chargers win, but how do you cover 2 touchdowns? As an NFL team, this should never be the case. So I got Jacksonville plus 14 over San Diego.
Gotcha. And my third pick, I like the Atlanta Falcons rolling on offense. It's difficult, though. They're going on the road versus the Vikings. I'm going out on a limb, but I think the fact that they just got too much, and you just can't discount the impact of Matt Castle and Adrian Peterson being out for the Vikings. So with my third pick, I'm going to go on a limb. I think Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons offense continues the offensive parade, and they go into Minnesota and handle their business. So with my third pick, I got the Falcons over the Vikings.
All right, with my third pick, this team has covered 2 of 3 games thus far this season. I've got the Raiders, who are in England at Wembley Stadium. They will be taking on the Dolphins, and they're getting 4.5 points. I will take the 4.5, and I say that they win against the Dolphins.
This Lions game is really going to be one of the toughest games to pick because really you don't know what is going to happen. Really, it's going to be who makes the less mistakes, who gets the most turnovers, but I'm going to go on a limb. I think that the deciding factor is Matthew Stafford is a little bit better than Geno Smith. If anything happens, I just don't want Geno Smith to have 4 touchdowns and Stafford have 2 or 3 picks. I think Matthew Stafford needs to shine when he plays inexperienced quarterbacks. Matthew Stafford is in his 6th season. He needs to dominate, and I think that the Lions will go into New York, play a great game, and I think this is the game we break out. So I'm thinking 35-24 Lions.
I'm really tempted to pick against what I have written here on my sheet, and I'm really tempted to pick against you just to sit there and try to get a little bit of a lead on you, but I just can't bring myself to do it. I get the Lions over the Jets, and I'm taking the Lions over the Jets because of this. Jets are coming off Monday Night Football. They've got one less day of rest.
Yes.
So that, we talk about it often, that does play a factor. I don't think they're going to rebound as well. I know the Lions are a little bit banged up, but I got the Lions beating the Jets.
You got it, cuz another great podcast. Man, these podcasts I get excited to do these podcasts week in and week out. We are 59 episodes strong. We are continuing to roll on this podcast. We want to thank all the guests that join us, especially from the Detroit Sports Nation. Thank you to Ky Carlin. Thank you to Jeff Deacon. I want to thank you, Jock, for being the greatest ambassador for U of M that there is out there. Don't let anybody call you a hater. You care enough to continue to watch, whereas some people have fallen off and have changed alliances. You're continuing to be passionate. I think that changes are coming. I'm hoping that Michigan can do things for you to bring you the joy that Michigan State has started to bring me. For the Jock, Adam Strozinski, I am the Doc, John Macaroon. You have been listening to the Detroit Sports Podcast. Thank you for downloading.
Go Lions. We just get jail sexed. This is disgusting.
I think that I'm going to say it. I think the Lions make the playoffs this year as the NFC North division champs.
Pants off, dance off, for sure.